Hi, so we're going to deploy Azure web app on deployment slots. So let's see how to do that. So we're back on our Azure portal and let's go to our app services and we go back to the web sample app and let us confirm that we still have our P1 version 2 plan and we have one virtual machine currently running. So next we need to go to our deployment slots option. So we'll click on that. And now it says you haven't added any deployment slots. Click here to get started. Well, let's take note of our web sample app production slot. And this is what is currently deployed for the clients. So let's go and click on this to create the deployment slot. So we're going to give the name version 1 and we can see the URL here. So we're going to take the settings from the web sample app and we'll click on add and successfully created slots version 1-1. So we'll close so we can see it here as the staging slot. So let's just read this. It says deployment slots are live apps with their own host names. App content and configuration elements can be swapped between two deployment slots, including the production slot. So what that means is that we have this running for the clients to interact with, and we have a backup slot which we can make our changes, and later we can swap it for the production so that the clients can see our changes we've made. So I'm going to click on this deployment slot which we created and we can see it's running. And if you go to the URL, so we're going to click on that. So now we can see that we do not have any content here and it says we should go to deployment center or quick start to set up our code, but I'm not going to do any of that because we have better tools, more advanced tools we can use to deploy our codes directly to Azure. So what I will do instead is that I'm going to just go and change this file from the console. So go to web sample app and we're back to the app, and that's the app that our clients are currently seeing, and we can see that's my profile. So I'm going to change this what I have here instead of what is currently here. So let me do that. So this is the web app. So let me go back to deployment slots and I'm going to select this, and this is what we're going to work on. So I'm just going to come down to the console here, and I'm not really going to do much, just let me list what we have. So this is the hosting start HTML, that is what we have here. So I'm just going to create a new file and I'll call it index.html so that by default it selects the file. Let me list, and now we can see the index.html file along with the hosting start. So it's going to select this by default, which I hope it would. So let me just close that and go back here, and I'm going to refresh, and now we can see that it selected the index.html empty file. So I'm going to come back to Azure, and now I want to swap. Then I'm going to swap, so I'll click here swap, and it's asking what do I want to swap. So I want to swap the source, which will be the staging app, the one we are currently working on, and then it's going to go to the production level app. So I'm going to click on swap, and now successfully completed swap between slots. So we're going to go back to overview, or we can just simply come here and refresh. And now we can see that we now have the empty index.html that I created. So there are other better ways to do this on Azure using more advanced tools, but we're going to do that later, not in this video. So let me refresh the former one, and we can see now our former one now has the production level app that we had before. And if we want, we can go back to swap it back. So I'm going to come back here, deployment slots, and I'm going to swap it back, swap. So I'm going to swap that to the production level app, which is now having our empty HTML page, and I'm going to swap it for our previous application. So I'm going to click on swap, and now it's successfully swapped. So I'm going to close, and I'm going to come back here, the production website, and we can see it has my profile back here, and we go back to the previous one, and that's the staging app, and we can see it's taking out the empty HTML file. So we've successfully been able to implement the deployment slots for our web app so that we can perform upgrades. And it's also good to know that we can have multiple slots over here, depending on the plan that you're currently running.